listener, and welcome to Book 2, Chapter 16 of Bite-Sized Tales, the audio flash fiction podcast. In today's story, we continue the serial story of Darius's tale. Shattered Crystal, Darius's Tale, as told by Wyland the Wanderer, minstrel and tale-teller of much renown from Caharan. Part 3. Well, my good companions, it seems that our respite is over. It is time I continue our tale. Our hero, Darius, was not in good spirits when we left him last. I would wager such feelings are bound to continue, as he awaits the time to go upon his mission. Are we all comfortable? Good. Another log upon the hearth, then, and I shall continue the tale. Darius sat in the mess hall at his table alone. His meal of mutton, stewed potatoes, and tomatoes long over, the young knight stared at his sword that lay on the table in front of him. It was the blade issued to all members of the order, those that chose the sword, by that measure. While all were required to learn to wield a weapon properly, the sword was not every member's weapon of choice. Some members of Darius' squad fared better with staff or spear, others an axe. For Darius, it was the sword. Regardless of weapon chosen, every one wielded by an adept had a small piece of Tisserine crystal somewhere inside it. The crystal possessed inherent magical qualities. How those qualities were utilized depended much upon the user. Should a mage or any student of the arcane come into possession of a piece of crystal, they could use it to enhance the power of their spells. Others might use it to better communicate with the spirits or other magical beings. But for adepts in the order, their use of the crystal aided their ability to channel the magic bond between the adept and their eidolon when it came to what could be done with their weapons. Highly skilled adepts and masters could use the crystal to tap into deeper powers and abilities, something that made the Spirit Guard feared and respected throughout all the lands of Dahara. Of course, this also meant that maintaining and retaining the weapon of the utmost priority for the adept. Yes, many a weapon have been lost over the years, and it is a disgrace to do so, but it is not a death sentence. Darius stared intently at his blade, continuing to focus his attention on the crystal embedded in the pommel of the sword. The sounds of laughter and conversation from the few remaining people in the mess hall faded away as he reached out with his mind toward the sword. His mind's eye showed a view of the blade that was colored differently than what his eyes could perceive. Swirls of red and amber-hued light emanated from the gem and played across the blade. Darius could feel wisps and strands of the magical power snake their way into his psyche, completing the connection circuit. He took a deep breath as he felt the power begin to course in and around him. He sat still, finding presence in the moment of the power. He did not attempt to control it, nor did he allow it to exert influence over him. He just simply existed within it. This was a new practice for Darius, one Master Denelver had only begun to teach her charges. The sensation was warm and would have been considered comforting had it not been for the prickly sensation that accompanied it. Tiny tingles of pain worked up and down his limbs and across his chest. He knew this was to be expected, but he could almost feel the sensation growing, building, as if it was trying to overtake him. Darius closed his eyes, shutting out the last of the external sensations. He could no longer hear nor see those who remained in the hall. He looked inward toward the wisps, watching with intent. The colors flickered and moved, jerking and twitching into odd shapes. Amongst the waves of magical energy, Darius saw the glimmers of something in and around them. Was it a thing? Was it a person? Was it both? He focused harder. The shapes coalesced ever so slightly, and with them came sounds, sharp clangs, and something akin to screams and shouts. The prickly sensation took on a more painful presence, and Darius was dimly aware that he was beginning to sweat. The shapes in his mind's eye became those of people. Other shapes gave way to walls, doors, and other structures. The clangs were weapons upon steel and shield, shouts of battle and pain, an attack. No, an ambush. Then Darius saw it, ever so briefly, but frighteningly clear. The grounds of the Krail Keep, the training grounds. This attack was here. Fear gripped his heart, and the adept heard his name amongst the chaos of battle. It repeated over and over. Desperately, Darius tried to move, to find more clues to what he was witnessing. His inner vision gave him sight of a creature, but a blow to his back turned all to black, as the vision, the sounds, and the colored wisps vanished in an instant. And with that, my good companions, seems like a fitting place to leave this portion of the tale. Perhaps we shall learn what Darius saw, or thought he saw, what caused the visions to vanish, or, even more telling, what caused him to see it in the first place. But the fire begins to ebb, and the night grows long. Perhaps tomorrow evening we can continue the tale. Quick author's note. So, as I mentioned, I think after the very first part, this story was something I had written in a much longer format and in a few different iterations. But what you got with this portion was actually the end of what I had written up to this point. The funny thing was, I thought I actually had quite a bit more. But as I was working on this particular entry, I realized that I had reached the end. So now I only have vague ideas of where the story may be going based upon notes that I took or made quite some time ago. I'm excited to see where this develops. Thanks again for listening. This chapter of Bite-Sized Tales has been brought to you under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Intro and outro music is Fantasy Motion by Alexander Nakarada, provided under a Creative Commons 4.0 license. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we greatly appreciate reviews and recommendations to your friends. For more information about our authors, please visit bitesizedtales.com. We look forward to reading to you next time.